We are going to sing now the song to the Divine Mother. It is number 663. Please be seated.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati Sai Jagan Mata.
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 Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati Sai 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 Jagan Mata.
Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati Sai 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 Jagan Mata.
Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati, Sai 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 Jagan Mata.
Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati, Sai 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 Jagan Mata.
Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati, Sai 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 Jagan Mata.
Sai Jagan Mata, Mampai 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 Jagan Mata.
Jai Durga Lakshmi Sarasvati, Sai Jagan Mata.
Please take out your notebooks. I'm going to give you the teaching today on the Divine Mother in the East, not as an intellectual interpretation of it, but from the life of Ramakrishna. Please take notes, as you will be tested on everything that you are given. Sri Ramakrishna lived between 1836 and 1886. He was a Hindu saint and mystic, born to a poor Brahmin family in a village in Bengal, India. Before his birth, his father had a vision in which Rama told him that Rama would be reborn as his son. At the age of 7, he had his first experience. It was a spiritual ecstasy while he was worshiping the goddess Kali. When he was 23, he married Sarada Devi, who was then only 5 years old. Throughout their marriage, he worshipped his wife as the incarnation of the Divine Mother and maintained a life of celibacy. Ramakrishna experimented with various faiths, including Christianity and Islam, and said he could attain samadhi through any of them. He said, "I have found that it is the same God toward whom all are directing their steps, though along different paths." A couple of these readings are from Ramakrishna and His Disciples by Christopher Isherwood. Ramakrishna's devotion to the Divine Mother was now so great that external acts of worship had become unnecessary. He was worshiping the Mother in spirit, wherever he happened to be, and whatever else he was doing. Sometimes it seemed to him that he had no separate existence from her at all. He would take flowers and sandalwood and decorate his own body instead of her image. And if this sense of communion with her ceased for even a few moments, his agony would be so intense that he would throw himself down wailing and rub his face against the earth until it bled. A man called Mathur, who helped build the Kali temple in Calcutta, where Ramakrishna assisted in performing the temple worship, observed Ramakrishna's behavior with mixed feelings. One half of his mind had decided that Ramakrishna was not only sane but super sane, a being who could see the real nature of things in clearer perspective than ordinary mortals. But the other half of Mathur's mind persisted in regarding Ramakrishna as a sadly eccentric and irresponsible young man who needed to be protected from himself and weaned back to normal human ways. Mathur had rebuked the temple officials who said Ramakrishna was mad, yet now he called in a doctor, just as Friday had done earlier, to treat Ramakrishna for his, quote, nervous disorder, unquote. On one occasion, Mathur and the Raini came misguidedly to the conclusion that Ramakrishna was suffering from the effects of unduly prolonged continence. So Mathur brought prostitutes to visit and, if possible, seduce him, and later took him to a house of prostitution in Calcutta. But Ramakrishna saw only the Divine Mother in these, as in all women. Saluting her presence, he went into samadhi. The women themselves were profoundly moved by the experience. They begged his pardon with tears for having tempted him in this manner, mortally afraid that they might have incurred bad karma by doing so. It is not recorded that Ramakrishna scolded the Raini or Mathur. No doubt, like other great teachers before him, he judged the intention rather than the deed. The next reading is from Women Saints of East and West. The Divine Mother in Sarada Devi. Sri Ramakrishna had by now finished practicing all the disciplines of Hinduism and attained a variety of experiences. Nay, more, he had realized the truths of other religions as well as the underlying harmony of all faiths. He was then 35 years of age. After the betrothal, when Sarada was growing into womanhood, he had fervently prayed to the Divine Mother to remove all traces of carnality from her mind, so that she might remain pure and immaculate. During the early days of her stay at Dakshineshwar, he once asked her whether she had gone there to drag him down to worldly life, but she replied, "Why should I do it? I have come only to help you in the path of religious life." It was during these early days of her stay in the same premises with Ramakrishna that he performed a form of worship known as Shodasi Puja. On the seat intended for the Divine Mother, he asked Sarada Devi to sit. The worship began at about 9 p.m. with the usual ritual and mantras. She was in a mood of spiritual fervor throughout. After sprinkling holy water on her several times, he invoked in her the Divine Mother by addressing the following prayer. O Divine Mother, thou eternal Virgin, the mistress of all powers and abode of all beauty, deign to unlock for me the gate to perfection. Sanctifying the body and mind of this woman, do thou manifest thyself through her, and do what is auspicious. All through the worship, Sri Sarada Devi was in a state of semi-absorption, and when the worship was over, she went into deep samadhi. It was a transcendental union of the worshipper and the worshipped, who realized their identity of being as the one Brahman. A long time passed in that state of spiritual absorption. Late in the second watch of the night, Sri Ramakrishna regained a little of physical consciousness. Then he resigned himself completely to the Divine Mother, and in a supreme act of consecration, offered to the deity manifest before him the fruits of his austerities, his rosary, himself, and everything that was his. He then uttered the following mantra. O Goddess, I prostrate myself before thee again and again. Before thee, the eternal consort of Shiva, the three-eyed, the golden-hued, the indwelling spirit in all, the giver of refuge, the accomplisher of every end, and the most auspicious among all auspicious objects. In the course of ritualistic worship, it is usual for the worshipper to invoke the deity in hymn, and when the worship is over, to pray to the deity to mingle again with the universe from which it came. Though the worshipper feels his identity with the deity for a while, he is soon overpowered again by worldly consciousness and completely forgets his identity. When Ramakrishna invoked the Divine Mother in Sarada Devi, she attained a high state of spiritual experience. When she came to, she did not lose sense of her identity with the divine, but retained it throughout her life. Further, the worship symbolized her participation in Ramakrishna's life, in the fruits of his own austerities, and in his spiritual ministry. Henceforth, her body and mind became the instruments of that energy which is known as the Divine Mother, and which played through the body and mind of Ramakrishna. They saw in each other only the Divine Mother. Their minds never once came down to a lower level. She was holy as he was holy. He was the divine man, and she was the divine woman. She was a mother to his disciples, and to their disciples in turn, as much as to her own. Nay, she was more than a mother, for through her, that energy known as the Mother, whom Ramakrishna worshipped and realized, was made manifest. It is no wonder that she is known today as the Holy Mother, a name which at once evokes mingled feelings of love and reverence. Our last reading is back to Ramakrishna and his disciples by Christopher Isherwood. After I got married, I implored the Divine Mother to keep Sarada's mind absolutely free from lust. And now, after living with Sarada all that time, I know that the Mother granted my prayer. One day, while Sarada was massaging Ramakrishna's feet, she asked him, "How do you think of me?" And he answered, "The same Mother who's in the temple, and the same Mother who gave birth to me and is now living in the music tower, that same Mother is rubbing my feet." That's the truth. I always see you as a form of the blissful Divine Mother. Once at night, as he watched Sarada lying asleep beside him, Ramakrishna addressed his own mind in a mood of discrimination. "Oh, my mind, this is the body of a woman. Men look on it as an object of great enjoyment, something to be highly prized. They devote their lives to enjoying it, but if one possesses this body, one must remain confined within the flesh. One can't realize God. Oh, my mind, don't be thinking one thing in private and outwardly pretending another. Be frank. Do you want this body of a woman, or do you want God? The mere idea of touching Sarada's body with lust made Ramakrishna's mind recoil and lose itself so deeply in samadhi that he did not regain normal consciousness all night. It is by the consciousness of the Holy Spirit, by Lord Shiva, that we can enter into the God consciousness of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or the Divine Mother. In that consciousness, when we are wholly endued with the presence of the Divine Mother, as in these descriptions, one truly is that Divine Mother in that moment. One's body contains her, one's heart contains her, one's soul and spirit and mind. This is how people have come to be called Holy Mother, holy men and women. And unless one understands the worship of God within the temple of man and woman and child, one can call Hinduism, or this form of worship, polytheism, a sort of idolatry, paganism. And it is only because the experience of entering in to this light and this energy has never been theirs, and they don't understand that God is energy, energy is God, and God is energy personified. So it is best that people come to understand this by experience, by desiring to know, by giving mantras, by experiencing a love for the Divine Mother through the Hail Mary, or the Kuan Yin mantras, or the Holy Spirit. And when one does have these experiences, it is best in this Western world to be quiet about them, unless you are speaking with someone who has greater attainment than yourself. For someone of less attainment will often be jealous of your experiences and cause them to be diluted even in your own minds. And so when you are taken by God on the path, it is well to remember the motto of the Great White Brotherhood: to know, to dare, to do, and to keep silent. This, then, is the Hindu understanding of Mother in the highest, simplest explanation that I can give to you. And I would only add to it that you remember that Mother is Shakti, the divine manifestation or counterpart or energy of action of the masculine principle. As such, any of us can be the Shakti of the Divine Mother, and I know that Ramakrishna saw himself as such. Lest you feel that his attainment or his experiences are beyond your own or what you could attain in this life, I would like to remind you that Ramakrishna did not make his ascension at the conclusion of that life. He reincarnated in the United States for the final balancing of his karma through the violet flame, was a student in the I Am activity, completed his training and his work there, and made his ascension at the conclusion of this life. And so we can understand that all of the world's religions and their celebration of God in the four principal forms that we acknowledge, these paths lead to the path of the Great White Brotherhood. And though high experiences of ecstasy and bliss, samadhi, are experienced for many years by such saints, unless they have balanced their karma in the new dispensation 51%, they do not make their ascension. And since they do believe in returning to earth again and again, and that it takes eons and eons to come to the place of union with God, they are not in too much of a hurry to get back to God, and they have not taken the teachings of the Great White Brotherhood and the Ascended Masters. So for all the wealth of path and spiritual teaching, which I'm sure we've all shared in previous embodiments, these world religions today have not yet come to the feet of the Brotherhood, the Divine Mother in the Brotherhood, in the Ascended Masters. And I can assure you that many representatives of Eastern organizations, gurus, blessed men have made their stops at our ashrams and centers all the way back to the early 60s. And we would always welcome them and receive them as they came representing whoever they were representing from the East. And we would give bhajans with them and mantras with them and enjoy the experience and give them, of course, a demonstration of our own violet flame decrees. And the conclusion of the matter is that they who have the experiences, perhaps of some of the cities, perhaps not, perhaps of Kundalini Yoga, whatever it may be, they could not look upon two people such as Mark and me, or the Ascended Masters, or the path, or the violet flame, as an adjunct to their path, as something to integrate with it, as something that they could see was actually the prophecy that is in all world religions, the coming again of the Divine Mother, her appearance again, and her bringing the ultimate quintessence of the teachings to the earth. And so they have gone about their way, and they have made their contacts with the youth of this country, drawn them into their organizations, and their principal form of worship is the bhajans and the mantras. So I can say to you that these are very dear people, but perhaps, and God only knows this, it will take them another incarnation to be born into the path, to move forward, and to be unbounded from the shackles of a tradition which says it has all, it knows all, it is the ancient teaching, it comes down from the Ancient of Days through the Vedas, through the great books of the Manus, and so forth. And so therefore, what is there that someone out of the West could possibly add to this great teaching? So the Brotherhood has allowed us to have our experiences with representatives of these major faiths, with the Dalai Lama, whom we visited in Dharamsala and had an audience with him for some time. So we have understood that they can only go so far, and unfortunately, I've even had the experience where teachers have come, not necessarily holy men, not necessarily devotees, but teachers from India have come. They have had their third eye opened. Upon looking at me, they have almost gone into shock, and they have asked me how I could have such a huge aura of violet light around me and such a huge sphere of white light beyond it. And they've never seen anybody, though they walked the earth, that had such energy around them. And they would go into a mode, a worshipful mode, but not in the purity of Ramakrishna, almost in a sense of idolatry. And I just did an interview with the Denver Post this morning, and the woman asked me what I thought of myself. And I said that I didn't think of myself as being different from anyone else, that I'm a disciple of Jesus, and so on and so forth. So twice in the conversation, she tried to insert and get me to agree to that I had powers. But you have special powers. I said, no, I don't have any special powers. The only thing I have is what everyone else has. And I talked to her about the light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. And we all have a divine spark. And I said, there are many people in the world that can do all kinds of things that I can't do. I can't write a symphony. I can't build a bridge. I'm not an engineer. I'm just human like everyone else, and I make mistakes. But she was looking to trap me into this statement. And the second time she did it, I said, I don't believe in any favorite son concept. And I talked to her about Gnosticism and the true teachings of Jesus. But there is no question about it. There is nothing that I do that I could do myself. I can't take a dictation. I can't do anything. I can only do what the presence of God does through me, and the thing I do best is to acknowledge that thou the all and I the nothing, and that without God nothing is possible for me. And so that's not a device, that's how I truly feel. But it so happens that when you know that, and when you do get the lesser self out of the way, God will perform whatever he desires to perform through you. and never take credit for it. I was counseling a Chila the other day who has a bad habit of continually accepting praise and claiming as his own doings things that are only God's doings. And El Morya told me to warn him that he would lose his gift if he continually accepted praise for his actions and did not acknowledge God as the doer. And I've counseled him on this again and again over the years. It's not the first time I've told him. So I think that by nature we have to understand that the human is an idolater. And that is especially true in the West. We're all victims of the cult of achievement and of success. And so we're very forthright about writing our resumes and letting it be known all the degrees we have and all the things we know how to do so we can get the best job. And that seems to be people's need in life, to be acclaimed as the best this, the best that, the finest this, the finest that. And that idolatry in the West continues. Whereas in the East, in the worship of the Divine Mother, the worship of God, they see God incarnate. And of course, Hinduism, as you know, has endless gods. Just as we have endless ascended masters, there's a God for everything. And it is with the understanding that the one universal God, it's like Teton and the rays that end in hands, has many individualizations of himself. And so this is not idolatry. There is more idolatry today in the United States of people for one another. In fact, I told this Chila, I said, you are a people worshiper. You tell me how great so-and-so is, you tell me how great somebody else is, you tell me what a wonderful mind this person has. You are a people worshiper, and that's what Westerners are. And they make fun of Hinduism as being the religion of idolatry. But here we have movie stars, we have rock stars, we have politicians, we have, people have people in their lives that they think are the most fantastic thing going, and they're more excited about people than they are about God. And so the Western mind, to me, is less mature. And it doesn't see how God merges in the temple of the individual who is the devotee of God and who is able to put himself out of the way. And so when we see God in someone, we should worship God and not the temple, not the person. We don't worship the cup. When we get a cup of water, we are happy for the water, but we don't worship the cup. So I think that one's own unique experience in God can liberate one from the idolatry of self. And in the idolatry of self, you will find what happened in the 60s. Many Americans followed teachers from the East, and many of these young people were overcome by drugs, didn't have a large sense of identity, and found their identity in the worship of persons, gurus, or Krishna, or whoever. And I will not sit here and judge them because I know there were all kinds of people, but I know some of them who came to me were not capable of realizing God in themselves. And they would have liked to have worshipped me, but of course I would never let them. But if a person contains God, then he can worship God in another. But he must first know that God in himself, and then come to the sense that he has a lesser manifestation of that God, and he acknowledges his guru as God incarnate and will not worship the flesh. And yet he has the ability to know that the flesh and the spirit are one in the true representative of God. And therefore, if he has the true understanding, his worship will not be idolatry. But if there's nothing inside of himself, then he tends to worship a human God. So it is the same with Jesus. People worship Jesus as a human God. And so there are idolaters who worship Jesus. I think it's great that they worship Jesus and rather than someone else, because that's certainly a great step in the right direction. But until they take Jesus' teaching and worship the light in their own hearts, they will not become like him. They will forever think of themselves as miserable sinners whom Jesus will save, and they will have the misconception of the concept of guru. And that is what Jesus is, the great avatar, the great God-man of the Piscean age. So, when in doubt, just worship the one God and rejoice. But understand the depth of an Eastern path when it is really experienced. So that is why the Divine Mother prevails in the East. This is how, to some extent, Catholics understand Mother Mary. And if they do not understand it to its fullness, they surely bring enough heart's devotion and love to the Hail Mary, whereby they are raising the Kundalini, raising up the light in their temples by this total adoration of the Divine Mother in Mother Mary and total trust in her. While you are in this mode of worshiping the Divine Mother, I would like you to give the Kuan Yin mantras that go with the 14 stations, but I would like only the Kuan Yin mantras and no other part of that section. So we would begin with number 1, and I would like you to look at Kuan Yin and make a heart contact with her, and begin by sending your love to Kuan Yin, whose electronic presence is over this statue. And by, as you are singing the mantra, you visualize yourself coming closer and closer to Kuan Yin as you look at her statue. And at a certain moment in the devotion of your love, there is a certain ecstasy that you experience whereby Kuan Yin is where you are. Her electronic presence is over you. And you are worshiping Kuan Yin within yourself. You merge with Kuan Yin in yourself, and all of a sudden you realize that you are Kuan Yin. And that realization must be in the true divine sense of it, and not as a self-idolatry. So you do need to bring wholeness to the altar to be able to internalize the mysteries of God without taking the left-handed path of Lucifer, who decided when he realized that God was in him, that he was greater than God, that he was God. And it is a very narrow line. And Christians who do not understand what we are about look at our I am affirmations, and they think because we make affirmations, including the name of God, I am the fullness of my God presence made manifest here and now. They believe that we are following the path of Lucifer, who exalted himself above God. And it is a simple misunderstanding that they do not understand the internalization of the light, and they would understand it a lot better if the Roman Catholic Church had decided to codify the Gnostic Gospels into our canon, but they have not done so. And so the whole path that Jesus taught of the inner light and the inner Christ is foreign to them. And so you can understand their fears, and you must allay their fears and teach them that we are not doing what Lucifer did. In fact, we are taking the 3 o'clock line on which he fell. We're taking the name of God I am, and we're affirming that God presence as we pass the test that he failed, which is to acknowledge the one God as supreme and the lesser self as the devotee of that God. So we'll begin with number 1 of the Kuan Yin mantras.
Om Home.
I would like to continue our study of God as Mother by giving you a deeper understanding of devotion to the Mother in Hindu teachings and in the dictations of the Ascended Masters. In the Vedas, V-E-D-A-S, Vedas, the earliest scriptures of Hinduism, probably composed about 1500 to 1000 BC, the Mother is associated with the cosmic principle and person of Vak, V-A-C. I have been told that it may be pronounced Vak, which means literally speech, word, voice, talk, or language. The Hindu text, Taittiriya Brahmana, says that the word, imperishable, is the firstborn of truth, mother of the Veda, and hub of immortality. You should know that you heard these words before. The word, imperishable, is the firstborn of truth, mother of the Veda, and hub of immortality. Vak is called the mother of the Vedas because it is believed that Brahma revealed them through her power. The Tandya Mahabrahmana teaches, this in the beginning was only the Lord of the universe. His word was with him. This word was his second. He contemplated, he said, I will deliver this word so that she will produce and bring into being all this world. Scholar John Woodruff, who wrote under the pen name Arthur Avalon, says that the concept of Vak is parallel with the opening verse of the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And it says, without the Word was not anything made that was made. Woodruff writes in the Garland of Letters, these are the very words of the Veda, and they are pronounced in Hinduism in the Sanskrit, which I am not a scholar and therefore will not guarantee my pronunciation. But it's Prajapatir Vai Idam Asit. In the beginning was Brahman. Tasya Vag Rivitya Asit, with whom was Vak, or the word. Woodruff's comment here is that Vak is spoken of as second to Brahman, because she is first potentially in him, and then as Shakti issues from him. Woodruff says, Vagvai Paramam Brahma, and the word is Brahman. Vak is thus a Shakti, or power, of the Brahman. This Shakti, which was in him, is at the creation with him, and evolves into the form of the creation, into the universe, whilst still remaining what it is, the supreme Shakti. So the mother is both outside of the creation and in the creation, but Brahman is forever outside of it. And the portion of Brahman that is in the creation is the Shakti, is Vak. Hindu texts refer to Vak as the wife or consort of the Creator, who contains within herself all worlds. Sarasvati, who is the consort of Brahma, and I hope you distinguish between Brahma and Brahman. Brahman is the name for God, spelled B-R-A-H-M-A-N, and it is with Brahman that the word is in the beginning. Brahma is the name for the first person of the Hindu Trinity, Father, as in Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. There is no N on the end of that name, and if you think of the Sanskrit not having A's pronounced, you would pronounce it Brahm. Sarasvati, the consort of Brahma and goddess of language, speech, wisdom, and art, is identified with Vak in the Hindu epic, the Mahabharata, and in later Hindu tradition. Quoting the Brahmanas, which are commentaries on the Vedas, author Raimundo Panikkar writes that Vak is truly the womb of the universe. The womb, W-O-M-B. For by that word of his, by that self, he created all this, whatever there is. Vak was before all creation. pre-existing before any being came to be. Vak is the life-giving principle within all beings. The fact that Vak is feminine is especially significant in the Brahmanas. She is supreme, but in a very feminine way. She is queen, but she has a king as partner, for she is the consort of Prajapati, the creator. Prajapati. She has a feminine characteristic of complementarity, a mediatorial role, and a certain feminine docility and obedience. She needs always to be uttered by men, by gods, or by the Creator himself. The Vedic word is ultimately as important as Brahman, and in a way that has to be properly understood, it is Brahman itself. The allegory in the first chapter of Genesis, where Adam is alone, he asks for a helpmeet. He is put to sleep, and Eve is formed out of his side, out of the rib, is an allegory that attempts to explain how Vak comes out of Brahman, yet is Brahman, and how Brahman really contains Vak, and Vak comes forth from Brahman. I'd like to read you a hymn that is called the Devi Sukta. And though the name Vak does not appear in it, it is the most significant chant to this feminine principle, the Devi of the supreme power, which later on would be known under the name of Shakti. Vak was before all creation, pre-existing before any being came to be. It was she who initiated the creative process. Or you could say Brahman initiated the creative process through her. The first two stanzas require a total immersion into the Vedic world in order for their full meaning to be grasped. With a beauty of their own, they say in solemn cadences that the word is not only the first of the whole Vedic pantheon, but that she has a unique place, for her nature is not to be compared with that of any other being, whether created or uncreated. She is the feminine God. You cannot go beyond Brahman and Vak. They are the beginning. The word is not only an integral part of the sacrifice, she is also the queen who commands homage in every sphere, and who, expressing herself under different forms, remains essentially the unique word that preserves the unity of all worship. Vak is the life-giving principle within all beings. Vak is one with the sacred fire that is sealed in the base of the spine chakra. Even if they do not recognize this fact, she is the wind, the breath of life. She is the mother, attentive to the needs of both gods and men. She bestows her gifts and favors graciously and freely. She, existing from all eternity, reveals the Father, and for the sake of creatures begets him who otherwise would remain utterly disconnected and non-existent. That is, disconnected from manifestation, from action, from existent being. This is the Devi Sukta. I move with the Rudras and also with the Vasus. I move with the Adityas and all the gods. I support both Mitra and Varuna, Indra and Agni, and the two Asvins. I uphold Soma the exuberant. I uphold Svatar, Pusan, and Bhaga. I pour wealth on the offerer of oblation, the worshipper and the pious presser of Soma. I am the ruling queen, the amasser of treasures, full of wisdom, first of those worthy of worship. In various places the divine powers have set me. I enter many homes and take numerous forms. The man who sees, who breathes, who hears words spoken, obtains his nourishment through me alone. Unrecognizing me, he yet dwells in me. Listen, you who know, what I say is worthy of belief. It is I myself who announce and utter the tidings that gods and men alike rejoice to hear. The man I love I make increase in strength. I make him a priest, a sage, or a learned seer. It is I who draw the mighty bow of the God, that an arrow may pierce the hater of the holy word. Among the people I arouse the struggle, and I have permeated earth and heaven. At the world's summit I bring forth the Father. My origin is in the waters, in the ocean. Thence I am spread through all existing worlds, and even touch the heaven with my forehead. I breathe out strongly like the wind, while clasping unto myself all worlds, all things that are. I tower above the earth, above the heavens, so mighty am I in my power and splendor. This comes from a paperback book called The Vedic Experience by Raimundo Panikkar. In addition to the personification of the Divine Mother as Vak, the Mother is also worshipped in Hinduism in the form of many wives or consorts of the gods, called their Shaktis. To review briefly what you heard in the replay of my lecture from Toronto on the path of the Divine Mother East and West, Shakti is a Sanskrit term meaning energy, power, or force. You will be asked that. You must know energy, power, or force. Shakti, the Divine Mother, is worshipped as the dynamic, creative force of the universe, the manifest power of her masculine counterpart. Shakti is that point of the feminine principle who releases the potential of God from spirit to matter. In his book, Hindu Symbology and Other Essays, Swami Swahananda gives some valuable insights into the Hindu devotion to the Mother as Shakti. I would like to read to you from his work. He says, the great Adyanatha supplied the definition of Shakti as the power by which Shiva externalizes his consciousness as the object of his self-enjoyment. The object of his self-enjoyment. The idea of Shakti as the Mother who creates, sustains, and destroys and bestows grace as well was developed by the Tantrika worshippers called the Shaktas. The Shaktas are so called because they are the worshippers of Shakti. According to the Shaktas, Shiva is the unchanging consciousness, and Shakti is its changing power appearing as mind and matter. Shiva Shakti is therefore consciousness and its power. The former is God, as he is, and the latter is God, as he appears to us. So all that we see in the matter cosmos is Mother, and that is God, as God is appearing to us. But Shiva is God as he is. So this is why we talk about the Mother's play, and the whole illusion of matter being the play of the Mother, because it is the appearance of God. It is one step removed from God. This then is the doctrine of the dual aspects of Brahman acting through its threefold powers: will, knowledge, and action. Threefold powers of Brahman. In the static, transcendent aspect, Shiva, the one Brahman does not change, and in the kinetic, immanent aspect, Shakti, it does. There is thus changelessness in change. In creation, a change is produced without change in the producer. The Shakti goes forth in a series of emanations or transformations. Shankara writes in Saundarya Lahari, if Shiva is in union with Shakti, he becomes the Lord of the universe. If not, he cannot even move. Mother has two sets of forms, a set of gentle forms in which she is surpassingly beautiful, and another set of terrible forms in which she is surpassingly fearful. Sadhaka, that is a spiritual aspirant, must be able to see her in both. Kali is the symbol of the terrible, who requires sacrifices. She is called the lover of sacrifices, of blood. We must give our blood to satisfy her. That means our light and our energy. There is nothing but complete self-surrender at the feet of the Mother, which is variously known as the death of the old man. This is true in our everyday life. That man is successful who can sacrifice the attraction of the moment for an ideal. The Apostle Paul teaches this teaching of the Mother, which is the crucifixion of the old man. This teaching of the Mother and of what the Mother demands of us to be one with her was given to Paul by Jesus. We read in Romans 6, 1-6. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin? Just think of karma. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in karma, that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin, karma, live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin, the body of karma, the nirmanakaya, might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. The nirmanakaya is the lowest body that the Buddha uses to appear to us. It corresponds with the lower figure in the chart. It is not the body of sin or the body of karma, but it appears in its place. For he that is dead is freed from sin, karma. Now the root of karma is desire. So if we are dead to the lesser self, we are dead to its desires. Hence we are dead to sin because we have no unlawful desires. Hence we are dead to karma. Now if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more. Death hath no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth unto God. This is the profound teaching of the Divine Mother, that we must all die in the lesser self, put off the lesser self, so that we may enter into the higher self. Paul writes in Ephesians 4, 17-25, This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over to lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. But ye have not so learned Christ, if so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him as the truth is in Jesus, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Being members one of another is the conception that we are part of the mystical body of God and of that one body. The Divine Mother cannot receive us unto herself until we give her the old man. The great Kali slays the old man. You can visualize Kali as mighty Astrea, and that circle and sword of blue flame strips us of death and hell and the old man daily. And as we will to go through that dying process, we are bonded to the Divine Mother. The most mystical statement that the Apostle Paul ever made, as far as I'm concerned, is the simple phrase, I die daily. Every day, a portion of this lesser self dies in the sense that we withdraw the light, the energy, the consciousness, the power, the fohat, the Shakti from it. And so it is like a snakeskin. Into the sacred fire it goes, and what we have drawn from it is given to the Divine Mother, who transmutes the energy, and it is returned to the central sun. So the Divine Mother is the great rescuer of our souls, even as she gives birth to our souls. We read in Colossians 3, verses 9 and 10. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds, which means with his karma. You put off the old man with his karma. Just because you have karma doesn't mean to say you have to wear it. You can put it off and remain accountable for the transmutation of that karma, but you can step out of the old man with his deeds and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. And who created us is the Word with Brahman in the beginning, because without that Word was nothing made that was made. All the great teachings of the East can be found in the New Testament, trickling through the apostles, trickling through their epistles, because Jesus so taught them. Continuing then the quote from Swami Swahananda, "Mother is the meeting ground of all the opposites. Nay, she herself is all the contradictory things, both good and bad. She is Maya, for of her the Maya which produces the samsara is." Maya is the Hindu word for illusion, the world of illusion. She is that illusion, for of her the Maya which produces the samsara is. And samsara is the road of suffering and of pain. We cross over this samsara, this sea of suffering. As Lord of Maya, she is Maha Maya, the great Maya. As Maya, she binds. As Maha Maya, she liberates when she is pleased. As Avidya Shakti, she puts snares. As Vidya Shakti, she frees from snares. In other words, the mother is the great initiator of us all. Like Sri Krishna in the Gita, she also promises to incarnate when vice prevails. The Divine Mother has promised to incarnate through each and every one of us at this time of our history, when in ignorance our people are beset with vices that they deem acceptable, lawful, fulfilling, etc. The Chandi, a sacred text which extols the Divine Mother, is a narrative of different battles fought by the goddess in keeping with the purpose of her incarnation, as she herself assured. Quote, "Whenever there will be trouble from irreligion, I shall incarnate myself and destroy the enemy." I'm going to read from a Purana that is in the book. It's the Markandeya Purana, Markandeya, Markandeya Purana. First of all, we're talking about Ashura. Ashura is a demon, an evil spirit, a dark force. This Ashura's name is Mahisha. Now the Ashura Mahisha was surrounded with thousands of 10 millions times 10 millions of chariots and elephants and horses in the battle there, with iron maces and javelins, with spears and clubs, with swords, with axes and halberds, as they fought in the battle against the goddess. And some hurled spears and other nooses, but they assailed the goddess with blows from their swords in order to slay her. And then the goddess Chandika clove, as it were, in merest play, those weapons and arms by raining forth her own weapons and arms. The goddess betrayed no exertion in her countenance, while the gods and rishis were praising her. The queenly goddess hurled her weapons and arms at the Ashura's bodies. The lion also that bore the goddess, enraged and with ruffled mane, stalked among the armies of Ashuras like fire through the forests. And the deep breaths which Ambika, fighting in the battle, breathed forth, came into real being at once as troops by hundreds and thousands. These fought with axes, with javelins and swords and halberds, destroying the Ashura bands, being invigorated by the goddess's energy. And of these bands, some raised a din with large drums, another with conches, another besides with drums in that great battle festival. Then the goddess with her trident, her club, with showers of spears, and with her sword and other weapons, slaughtered the great Ashuras in hundreds, and laid others low who were bewitched with the ringing of her bell. And binding other Ashuras with her noose, dragged them on the ground, and others again cloven in twain by sharp slashes of her sword, and crushed by blows with her mace, lie on the ground. So this is an example of the concept of what the Shakti, what the Vak does, personified as the mother in the matter universe, defeating the individualities, the identities that have identified with the misuse of her power. They are incarnate of the misuse of the mother energy. So she must slay the form to extract back from them the misqualified energy and to restore that energy back to Brahman, for that energy is herself. And she alone has the authority to claim it and to seize it. So this text goes on in this vein until the Asura Mahisha is finally slain by the goddess. Now we read from the same book what the Rishi spoke. When that most valiant, evil-souled army of the gods' foes was vanquished by the goddess Chakra, and the hosts of other gods poured forth their praises to her with their voices, reverently bending down their necks and shoulders, while their bodies looked handsome because their hair stood erect with exultation. The goddess who stretched out this world by her power, whose body comprises the entire powers of all the hosts of gods, her Ambika, worthy of worship by all gods and great rishis, we bow before in faith. May she ordain blessings for us. May she, whose peerless majesty and power, Ananta, adorable Brahma and Hara, cannot in sooth declare. May she, Kandika, to protect the entire world, and to destroy the fear of evil, turn her mind. Her who is good fortune herself in the dwellings of men of good deeds, ill fortune in those of men of sinful souls, who is intelligence in the hearts of the prudent, who is faith in those of the good, and modesty in that of the high-born man. Her, even thee, we bow before. Protect the universe, O goddess. Can we describe this thy thought transcending form, or thy abundant surpassing valor that destroyed the Asuras, or thy surpassing feats which were displayed in battles? Among all the hosts of Asuras, gods and others, O goddess, thou art the cause of all the worlds. Though characterized by the three qualities, by faults, thou art not known. Even by Hari, Hara, and the other gods, thou art incomprehensible. Thou art the resort of all. Thou art this entire world which is composed of parts. Thou verily art sublime, original nature, untransformed. Thou whose complete divinity by means of utterance finds satisfaction in all sacrifices. O goddess, art verily Svaha, and givest satisfaction to the Pitri hosts. Hence thou art in truth declared by men to be Svadha also. Thou art she who effects final emancipation and performs great thought-transcending penances. Thou studiest with thy organs, which are the essence of strength, well restrained. With Munis, who is a saint or a scholar, with Munis who seek final emancipation and who have shed all their faults, thou art the knowledge, adorable, sublime in sooth, O goddess. Sound is thy soul. Thou art the repository of the most spotless Rik and Yaju's hymns, and of the Samans, which have the charming worded text of the Ad-Gita. Thou, as goddess, art the triple Veda, the adorable, and for the existence and production of all the worlds art active. Thou art the supreme destroyer of their pains. Thou art mental vigor. O goddess, thou hast comprehended the essence of all the scriptures. Thou art Durga, the boat to cross the difficult ocean of existence, devoid of attachment. Thou art Shri, that's Lakshmi, who has planted her dominion alone in the heart of Kaitaba's foe. Thou art indeed Gauri, Parvati, the consort of Shiva, who has fixed her dwelling in the moon-crested god. Slightly smiling, spotless, resembling the full moon's orb, beautiful as the choicest gold and lovely was thy face. Be gracious, O goddess, as supreme lady to life. When enraged, thou dost forthwith destroy whole families. Known at this very moment is this, that here is brought to its end the Asuras Mahisha's most extensive might. Esteemed are they among the nations, theirs are riches, theirs are glories, and their sum of righteousness perishes not. Happy are they indeed, and they possess devoted children, servants, and wives, on whom thou, well pleased, dost always bestow prosperity, O lady. All righteous actions ever indeed, O goddess, with utmost respect the man of good deeds daily performs, and gains heaven thereafter by thy favor, O lady. Dost thou not by him bestow rewards even on the three worlds, O goddess? Thou, O Durga, when called to mind, dost remove terror from every creature. Thou, when called to mind by those in health, dost bestow a mind extremely bright. What goddess but thou, O dispeller of poverty, pain, and fear, has ever benevolent thoughts in order to work benefits to all? Swami Swahananda comments on the Chundi. Sometimes the objection is raised that the Chundi is full of fights and battles with appropriate descriptions, so it cannot generate the mood of devotion. It may be true that it does not do so in the uninitiated, but those who enter into the spirit of the book experience it. What is life? Is it not struggles against opposing forces? What is the condition of the world at large? Is it not full of battles of opposing interests? The fight between the good and the evil is an eternal one. The Gita describes it. Acharya Shankara speaks of Deva Asura Samgrama, battle between the good and the bad forces in a man's life. It is true in the cosmic field too, so there is nothing abnormal. It is only a realistic description of the world's situation. What makes it unique and of ethical and religious value is the fact that ultimately it is the forces of goodness that win over those of evil. Because of this stress, it acquires a great value in rendering hope, courage, and faith in mortal man in his seemingly hopeless struggle against evil. Had it not been so, wherefrom would man get courage to fight against his fate, reformers against social evils, national leaders against international disharmony? So we see that a Shakti worshipper believes in Shakti, strength. He is to steel himself against all fears and weaknesses, and the worship of the mother as power prepares him for it. Somehow or other the idea is current that devotion must make a man mellow and soft. And then the opponents of religion charge that it is devitalizing, effeminating, weakening. The Shaktas have counteracted this notion about devotion. Their idea is, when with the mother it is surely soft and mellow, but when dealing with the aggressions of evil forces, this same devotion must give him the courage of a lion, and giving up all fear, hesitation, and selfishness, he must overcome all obstacles, evil forces or distractions, and go straight to the mother. A spiritual aspirant is a man of the world. He is to face the struggles of life and at the same time must strive for reaching the highest goal, acquiring on the way all the noble virtues that make life sweet and noble too. Sri Ramakrishna looked upon the highest reality as the Divine Mother. He said, Brahman and Shakti are identical. Him whom you call Brahman, I call Shakti. One must propitiate the Divine Mother, the primal energy, in order to obtain God's grace. The propitiation for our karma is to return the light, the energy of the mother to the mother, and to return it purified and stripped of the overlays we have placed upon it. God himself is Maha Maya. We just earlier read that the Divine Mother, or Vak, is the Maha Maya. God himself is the great illusion. It is his will that we should run about a little. Then it is great fun. God has created the world in play, as it were. This is called Mahamaya, the great illusion. Therefore one must take refuge in the Divine Mother, the cosmic power itself. It is she who has bound us with the shackles of illusion. The realization of God is possible only when those shackles are severed. And the Mother will sever the shackles when we give the propitiation of the purified energy back to her. We are propitiating the Divine Mother each evening when we give our decrees, each time we decree, because the decree sends the light of God through all misqualified substance which belongs to the mother. It is returned to her, to the great causal body, and it is given to us to use again and again to glorify God as Father and as Mother. The glorious feature of the Shakti doctrine is the honor it pays to women. Women are gods, women are vital breaths, says the Sarvalasa Tantra. This doctrine allows women to be gurus, which is denied by others, and asks all its followers to bow to women without distinction as mother. This worship of women as the Devi herself had a tremendous social effect. India, through the ages, established the worship of the mother in the family and in the society, which evidently is the result of the worship of God as the mother. Another important feature of the Shakti doctrine is its sympathy for all. There may be classes and castes in social relation, but there is no such thing in religious pursuits. It is open to all, with the mother as the mother to all. How can there be difference among her children? This brings us full circle to Atlantis, when the place known as Hindustan today had brought the worship of the Divine Mother to such a height that the Rai Ernan of Suern could perform the feat of turning back the malintent of an invading army. Such is the power that the Divine Mother gives to all who are her devotees. Please stand for the sealing of our service. Beloved, mighty I am presence, O thou divine mother of us all, enter our hearts and minds and beings. Be thyself within us, and allow us to be ourselves in thee. Drink me while I am drinking thee. I call forth the light of the Divine Mother to pass through us and to return unto God in the great central sun, carrying with it the offering of self that we might give this day. And each and every day, O God, O Helios and Vesta, let the light of the great central sun of Inkle pass through us, and in passing through, restore to the Divine Mother and the Father all that we are and all that we have. O God, joyously in love we surrender ourselves to the Mother, and through the Mother to our Father. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Brahman, and the Word was Brahman, and without the Word, the Vak, the Mother, was not anything made that was made. Therefore we are mothers. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Divine Mother. Amen.